Good evening, everyone. This is the Matty Baseball. Looking forward to the weekend power rankings. We could honestly wouldn't mind a different name than that, but that's what we're going to go with for now. Going to be releasing these every Thursday night after the games. Looking forward to the weekend. That's why it's called that, I guess, for now. We are 2 weeks in the books for the 2019 MLB season. I decided to wait a week before releasing it, let some of the quirkiness of small sample sizes even out, and to some degree it's been a success, but there's still some surprises, both good and bad. I'm going to start with my top 10 and an honorable mention as well, and then move on in the next video to the bottom 10. Thankfully, the Yankees are not in either tier, which means thankfully, I was able to justify keeping them out of the bottom 10 because they had a rough start to this week, and Houston could have won a couple of those games, but alas. Anyway, let's get right into it. Number 11, the honorable mention, is the San Diego Padres. Honestly, kind of a mixed bag with some performances so far, particularly on the pitching side. But 9-5 so far, 9-5 winning record on the road and at home, despite giving up one more run than they've scored. But 9-5, not it's so exciting. The Padres, maybe, probably not yet, but. Number 10, we got the Milwaukee Brewers, 8-5. They were 8-2, and then just got swept to kind of a middling Angels team. That was a bit disappointing. They're another team that actually has a minus run differential. They're -6 right now. But they started well and still a few games over 500. Christian Yelich and Lorenzo Cain pretty much that was as good of a top two hitter combo as there was for any team, and they're really carrying the team again so far this year. A lot of very disappointing start for the starting pitching. Bullpen hopefully getting some help soon with Jeffers coming back. They could have signed Craig Kimbrell. It looks kind of like they were going to. He's still out there. Little skeptical about this team long term, but they kind of stormed out of the gates, and their start was good enough that they were able to maintain number 10, even though they did, as I just said, they did just get swept by the Angels. Number nine, the New York Mets. Mets fans might be slightly upset because they are technically in first place in the NL East right now, but I'm going to actually have two teams from the NL East slightly ahead of them. But they've had a number of either or games, offenses making late runs, but they're 6-1 on the road is the main part of it, and a lot of their young hitters off to good starts. Jeff McNeil, Ahmed Rosario, and then Pete Alonso had a monster home run earlier tonight. 12 extra base hits in his first 12 games, 6 home runs and 6 doubles. Good return so far for the Mets. We'll see if they can keep it up. Number 8, the Cleveland Indians, despite some very poor offensive performances early on. They're missing Francisco Lindor. Jose Ramirez not off to a good start. Really carried by Carlos Santana. Welcome back, Carlos Santana. They made that trade for a reason. He's leading the team in hits and walks so far, and RBIs. He has 6 more RBIs than the next closest guy. Otherwise, their pitching is awesome. Nothing really new there, although they did just lose Mike Clevinger. Looks like he's going to be out at least a couple of months, so that's a tough loss, but still, rest of the pitching staff's awesome, and Shane Bieber stepping up so far, as was the number 5 starter. Now he's number 4. But, and it helps that they've not played very good teams so far for the most part, in my opinion. But Cleveland doing what they're supposed to, 8-4, and with the potential to be much better, at least offensively. But they are And they were my World Series pick before the year, by the way. So I really like this team, but for right now, I couldn't really justify putting them any higher than number 8, although they possibly are on the rise. Number 7, the Houston Astros kind of got off to a rough start in Tampa, but they've won 5 in a row now, and that was cemented with a sweep of the Yankees, a couple of nice, depending on which side you're coming from, comeback wins. Encouraging start for Correa. He was a guy, injuries have really hampered him the last couple of years. He's really strong coming out of the gate. Michael Brantley fitting well in this lineup so far. Offensively, they're a very scary team, and they're not going anywhere. They're going to win a lot of regular season games again. They are number 7 right now. Number 6 is one of those NL East teams, the Atlanta Braves. Although they did just lose to the Mets a few hours ago, but I still like them slightly. 7-5 so far, plus 11 run differential. They've played well against a number of teams that, well, are not off to a good start now, but were good last year. Chicago, like Cubs and Rockies, prominently. I'm liking what I'm seeing. Early returns for the Braves. A lot of their hitters doing very well out of the gate. Maybe a breakout year for Dansby Swanson. We'll see, but so far so good for the Braves still, even though 7-5, I feel like they probably should have a better record than that, but they are 7-5 and they are the number 6 team. And then we get to the top 5. Number 5, we got the Dodgers. Dodgers, who were probably if we did this on Monday, they would have been 3rd. But they just got swept 4 in a row by the Cardinals. Still have a plus 22 run differential, most in the NL, but yeah, that was kind of tough. A lot of good signs though so far. Cody Bellinger, probably the best hitter so far. First couple weeks, early award would go to him for that. Corey Seager looking pretty good. They just lost Ryu, but that was inevitable at some point. He always breaks down during the year. And Clayton Kershaw coming back, I believe, on Sunday or Monday. I think it's Monday he is starting. So still a lot of good in the Dodgers team. They're immensely talented. They're number 5, and they're not going to waver much downward from that position. I don't imagine over the course of the season this team's really, really good. They're a contender. Number 4, the Philadelphia Phillies were the last place team, but were the leading team in the NL East until last couple of games. Tough losses to Washington, including 15-1 in their last one. But they still feel like they've been the most impressive team out of the NL this year. Obviously very, very early, but I think Philly fans are excited. The lineup looks really good. Rhys Hoskins, possibly a breakout year for Maikel Franco, and for Bryce Harper, he's looking pretty good too. Yeah, and they're doing this without much from Aaron Nola so far. ERA over 6 in his 3 starts to begin the year, and even still, and with the 15-1 loss against Washington, they are the number 4 team in these rankings. Number 3, the top team in the National League, and was my pick before the year to win. So hopefully this trend continues. The St. Louis Cardinals, 8-5, had kind of a tough start to begin the year in Milwaukee, but they've won 5 in a row now. I mentioned before they swept the Dodgers 4-game series. They're looking very, very good. Hopefully it continues. Number 2, we got the Tampa Bay Rays. I kind of wanted to put them number 1, to be honest, but the other team was just too overwhelming in the evidence so far, and they've had extra games. But the Rays, 10-3, the clear number 2 team, I would say, so far this year. Uh, and the pitching staff looks like it might be better than we thought. If Tyler Glasnow is breaking out, he's had an excellent start so far to the year. And then obviously Blake Snell, the Cy Young winner last year, Charlie Morton, free agent they acquired from Houston the offseason. Yanni Torino's pitching very well right now. Honestly, I feel like starting to wonder if there's a chance that this is rotation's going to pitch more like the early part of this decade with the Rays when they had Matt Garza and David Price. I can't believe Matt Garza was the first name I just said, but David Price and big game James Shields, and then Alex Cobb and Chris Archer emerging a little bit later. It feels like they're starting to accumulate the depth again. The young hurlers in the rotation. The Rays are looking very good so far. I've had the American League with 3 teams making the playoffs this year as pretty much a nod to the Rays and how good they were last year, and also how much I don't like a lot of the teams in the AL. But maybe could consider their odds of winning the division a little more seriously, though. They look like a really, really good young team. And Tommy Pham looks awesome again, even though he hates playing in front of Tampa Bay. He hates you, Rays fans, but he balls out in that uniform. It's pretty remarkable. St. Louis just gave up on him pretty much, and all of a sudden he's back and better than ever. And then the number 1 team, probably not a surprise if you've been following baseball even semi-closely, the Seattle Mariners. They're 13-2 so far, 5-1 at home, 8-1 on the road. They started off well early in March 20th and 21st, I think it was, when they played the A's. They were able to win both those games in Japan, and then they traveled back over the States, and they have kept hitting. They've been pretty impressive so far. I gotta say, there was not serious thoughts about this team before the year, but the rotation's been serviceable, I would say. And then offensively, they just set a record home run in 15 straight games to start the year, passing the 2002 Indians. They have four everyday guys right now with OPSs over 1,000, and that's Tim Beckham, Edwin Encarnacion, who that's not a surprise too much if you were gonna name 4. Domingo Santana, and then Vogelbach. Oh my God, I'm blanking on his first name. I have to look it up. That's how unexpected this is. Daniel Vogelbach. Excuse me. At any rate, they're offensively, just world beaters out of the gate. Did not see this coming. We'll see how much longer it can keep going. But for now, Seattle Mariners, you remain the number 1 team in 2019.